For more than half a century, Beres Hammond has done something very few artists ever managed to do. Stay relevant, stay in demand, and keep entire generations singing along. A voice that never really left the culture. A career that didn't peak, but lasted. By every definition, this is a man who built wealth the long way. Steady, consistent, undeniable. And yet, when you look at him, that's not the feeling you get. There's no sense of spectacle, no image of a man living to display success. Instead, what you see feels almost the opposite. Quiet, grounded, deeply Jamaican. Grammy has called him a living legend, while Jamaica Gleaner noted that even in 2024, his US run included multiple sold-out shows. So the question isn't whether he made it. It's why someone who built so much carries himself like someone who never needed to show it. Because this isn't just about money. But to really understand that, you have to look at how the money actually moves around Beres Hammond. Because his wealth was never loud. It was built quietly, through catalog, touring, ownership, and time. Start with something simple. He's still selling tickets. According to Ticketmaster, Beres Hammond's international shows are scheduled well into 2026, including major venues like UBS Arena in New York, Gas South Arena in Georgia, and festivals in London. These aren't one-off nostalgia appearances. They are large-scale events with strong, ongoing demand. And the demand is real. Jamaica Gleaner reported that during his Forever Giving Thanks Tour 2024, the New Jersey Performing Arts Center show was completely sold out. Brooklyn's Coney Island Amphitheater reached about 85% capacity, and other venues were described as performing strongly. That's not nostalgia. That's sustained ticket power. Then there's the music itself. Through VP Records and Billboard data, Beres has repeatedly landed at #1 on the Billboard Reggae Albums chart. Never Ending, 2018. Debuted at #1, A Moment in Time, 2008. #1, One Love, One Life, 2012. #1 VP. Records confirmed that Never Ending marked his third #1 album on that chart. But the most important part isn't just the hits, it's ownership. From 1996 to 2018, Beres released 7 self-produced albums through his own label, Harmony House, working in partnership with VP Records for distribution. 2 of those albums were even nominated for Grammy Awards, Music is Life, One Love, One Life. That changes everything. Because he's not just earning as a performer, he's earning as an owner of the music, the production, and the system behind it. And that's the difference most people don't see. Some artists become wealthy because they have a few great years. Beres Hammond became wealthy because he built something that keeps working long after the spotlight moves on. His songs still stream, his label still exists, and his name still carries weight across generations. That's not temporary success, that's structure. And once you see that clearly, the way he chooses to live starts to feel a lot less confusing. Because the real reason Beres Hammond has been able to sustain that structure for decades has very little to do with trends, and everything to do with trust. His money didn't come from controversy. It came from something far more difficult to build, and almost impossible to fake. People believed in the voice. In a Grammy interview following Reggae Sumfest 2024, Beres described something that reveals more than any chart position ever could. What I like most is when the young folks, teens and 20s say, "My mom used to listen to you when she's in the kitchen working. That's how I know these songs." Think about what that really means. That's not just an audience. That's a habit being passed down. From a mother, to a child, to the next generation. At Sumfest, the crowd didn't just sing along. It echoed across age groups, people who grew up with him, and people who inherited him. And that kind of connection doesn't happen by accident. It comes from a very deliberate way of creating music. In that same interview, Beres explained his philosophy in the simplest way possible. "I don't use Wall Street words. I make it ABC. I just do my thing in the simplest manner so everybody can sing it. No complexity for the sake of sounding deep. No distance between the artist and the listener. Just clarity. He took emotions that are often complicated: love, heartbreak, loyalty, hope, and translated them into something anyone could understand instantly. And that's the difference. Most artists chase impact. Beres built familiarity. His songs don't feel like moments. They feel like part of life. You hear them in homes, in cars, in conversations. They don't belong to a specific year. They belong to people. That's why his music didn't fade when trends changed. It stayed, because it was never built on trend to begin with. And over time, that created something even more valuable than hits. Even within his own family, that continuity carries forward, through Harmony House, through his children who remain involved in music and production, keeping the sound alive beyond just one generation. So when people look at Beres Hammond and wonder how his success has lasted this long, they might be asking the wrong question. Because he didn't just sell songs. He created something people could trust, to always feel real. And in the long run, that kind of trust becomes more powerful than any hit record. It becomes something that keeps giving, quietly, consistently, and across generations. And maybe that's because at his core, Beres Hammond never moved too far from where that feeling first came from. Because what some people mistake as living like a poor man isn't about money at all. It's about identity. Beres was born in Anoto Bay, a small fishing village far from the noise of Kingston. A place defined by sea air, close communities, and a pace of life that doesn't rush to impress anyone. That environment doesn't just shape how you live, it shapes how you see yourself. And even after decades of global success, that perspective never really left him. You could see it clearly during Reggae Sumfest 2024, standing in front of thousands of fans when he kept calling out, "Jamaica! We are a brand! I am, you are, brand! Say it! Brand Jamaica!" That moment wasn't about hype, it was about grounding. A reminder that everything he became still traces back to where he started. And that connection runs even deeper when you look at his early success. With songs like One Step Ahead, 1976, and I'm in Love, 1978, Beres found recognition relatively early. But he has openly reflected that during that time, his life wasn't stable. He wasn't suddenly living comfortably. He was still figuring things out, still carrying the same habits, the same environment, the same reality he came from. Success at that stage didn't immediately translate into wealth, and more importantly, it didn't erase who he already was. So while many artists use success to distance themselves from their beginnings, Beres seems to have done the opposite. He stayed close to it. Because for him, Jamaica was never just a place he came from. It was something he continued to represent, on stage, in his music, and in the way he carries himself. And that's why, when people look at his life and feel a sense of simplicity, they might be misreading what they're actually seeing. Because money can change comfort. It can change options. But it doesn't always change rhythm. And in Beres Hammond's case, it never replaced the voice, the mindset, or the pace of the man who came out of Anoto Bay. And that becomes even clearer when you look at how he actually lives. Because the truth is, Beres Hammond doesn't look poor. He just doesn't perform being rich. In a 2018 all-access profile by Jamaica Gleaner, Beres was interviewed inside his home in St. Andrew. There was no attempt to create an image, no staged luxury, just a man sitting comfortably on a large sofa, speaking in the same tone people have heard in his music for decades. "I'm doing what I was meant to do, sing and make people happy." That line says more than any headline ever could, because it reveals something simple. He doesn't see his life as something to display. Even the people closest to him notice the same thing. His son, Rashid, described the contrast in a way that feels almost disorienting. It's hard separating the superstar from Dad. He's so genuine, very warm, humble, and that gap between who he is on stage and who he is at home is exactly where the misunderstanding begins. Because if you expect wealth to look like a performance, his life won't match the script. Instead of building a lifestyle for people to admire, Beres quietly invested in something else. Back in 2008, Jamaica Gleaner reported that he put significant resources into developing Harmony House, a modern studio in St. Andrew. It wasn't designed as a symbol of status. It was built as a working space, a place to create, produce, and support music beyond himself. He didn't just build a space for his own success. He built a space where the music could continue through other voices, other artists, even his own children like the Wixard and Rashid. And that decision quietly explains everything. Because while many wealthy figures turn their lives into something visible, a constant display of success, Beres Hammond chose something else. So what people sometimes interpret as simplicity isn't a lack of wealth. It's the absence of performance. And in a world where success is often measured by how loudly it's shown, that kind of silence can look confusing, until you realize it's completely intentional. Because the quiet around Beres Hammond isn't emptiness, it's protection. Family sits at the center of that. Beres is a father of 6, and for him, that's not a detail. It's a living, moving part of his world. Some of his children have stepped into music in their own ways. DJ Inferno touring with him, Rashid building his path in production, Nastasia the Wixard creating as a writer and artist, Andrene Ward Hammond supporting across creative spaces. And yet, when he speaks about them, it doesn't sound like legacy building. It sounds like pride. Sometimes I'm out here with all 6 of my children. It's a beautiful thing. They make me proud. There's no distance in that voice, no separation between superstar and father, and maybe that's why he stays connected in a different way. That balance shows up in moments that don't feel staged at all. During the Love and Harmony Cruise 2026, he brought his grandson Kingston on stage, introducing him, standing beside him, letting him sing There For You. It wasn't a performance designed for headlines. It felt like something else. A passing of presence, a quiet continuation. And that moment says more than any luxury ever could. Because in a world where everything valuable is often turned into something visible, Beres Hammond chose to keep the most important parts of his life out of that system. Because sometimes, silence isn't a lack of spotlight. It's a way of making sure the things that matter most never become something to sell. And that's where the meaning of rich begins to shift. He isn't a wealthy man trying to live like he has nothing. Some people use money to prove they've left their beginnings behind. Beres uses success to show he never had to. So maybe the question isn't, why does he live like a poor man in Jamaica? Maybe what people call poor is just someone who has too much to prove and finally stopped trying.